Hey guys, what's going on? This is Eric here, and today I'm doing my first ever Cobra Kai video. So today we're going to be looking at, all Cobra Kai characters ranked in terms of, combat abilities. So the guy at the very top would be the one that beat everyone beneath them in a fight. So the rules that we're going to establish for this are, the character has to appear in Cobra Kai. They have to have a significant amount of dialogue or be named. The reason for that is Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai both have a lot of characters that get a lot of fight scenes, but they aren't named, and they're mostly fodder. They're either just there for Robbie or Hawk just to get beat up. So they're not going to be included. We're not going to use characters that are Karate Kid only. So if they appear in Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, we'll use them. But, you won't be seeing Terry Silver on this list or anything because, as I stated, he only appears in the Karate Kid movies and not Cobra Kai. And another thing is they have to have some fighting background. You're not going to be seeing Amanda or Carmen, if they either train in karate or they have, fight scenes, then they're fair game. And one last thing, just like how Cobra Kai does it, how they sort of branch off adults and teens, we're going to be doing the same thing. I'll get a little bit more into that later, but that's just another ground rule that we're going to have set. So there's pretty much going to be two separate rules, one for adults, one for kids. So yeah, the first up we have is actually Anthony LaRusso, Daniel's youngest child. The reason why he's on this list mainly is because I wanted to put him on the bottom because he's really unlikable, but he really does belong there. He has shown no capability of being able to fight, but he actually does have dialogue that shows that he did at least start karate lessons from Daniel, so that's why he's on the list. Pretty much no other reason. I just think every other character that I'm going to include on this list would beat him up, and even a lot of characters that aren't on this list either. Next up, we have Bert. I know he's a fan favorite for a lot of people on the show, but unfortunately, he's going to have to be on. He's, just belongs there. So, why Bert? He's pretty much lost every fight he's been in. He lost in the All Valley tournament. Not even close, really. He just got decked. But that guy was a lot bigger and was doing a lot of flips and stuff. And he also loses to his rival in Miyagi-Do, Nate. So, that's about as clear as it gets. Next up, we have Nate. He gets into a very close, brawl with Bert at the very end of the show in season 2. And, he barely wins, but I don't think he could really get a lot of progress in on anyone else above him in the show. So that's why he's where he is right now. Next up, we have Kyler and his crew. I'm not saying the whole crew collectively. I'm just saying each one of them is going to be at around the same level in this tier list. So the reason why is because if we look back, Kyler has had some good scenes against Miguel. That was mostly when he was untrained. When he's a little trained, even then he did get hurt by Miguel, but he had his whole crew with him, and we can't forget that Johnny completely destroyed him and his crew very easily, very early on in the show. Additionally, when Miguel was trained, not even fully, this is before, Cobra Kai is even a big dojo, right? It's just Miguel and Aisha. Miguel stomped them all. Really stomped them all. So, all at once, I should say as well. So that's why they're also pretty low as well, and they don't appear at all in season 2. Next up, we have the Thugs. Now, the Thugs I'm referring to are associated with Robbie. They were his original crew that he hung out with. And the reason why they're so low is because they don't really have any karate experience or anything. They really are just thugs. Because they are thugs, and it's just two of them, they had a pretty good showing against Robbie and stuff at first. And they did okay against, I wouldn't even say they had a good showing in season 2 because they just had another guy beat Robbie in the back of the head with an oar, and then they were quickly and easily dismantled by Daniel LaRusso. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But because they are criminals, I do think that they would fight a little bit more viciously than Kyler and his company. Kyler's just bullies, and these guys are really just thugs. Next up, and this one I feel like might be the first controversial one that we have up, is going to be Chris. Now, Chris did beat Mitch in their fight in the school rumble at the season 2 finale, but I just was not a fan of it. Like, I don't think that's true combat prowess. Like, Mitch beat him combat wise. He knocked him down on the floor, and then when Mitch was monologuing, that was a mistake by Mitch, I should add, but Chris just nailed him with a hardcover book, and that's what knocked him out. And I feel like if that were not the case, if it was just like a standard street fight or even like an All Valley type thing, Mitch would win. It'd be close for sure. They're rivals, but Mitch would win. So right after Chris, we have Mitch for the reasons I mentioned above. Next up, we have Dimitri. This is another controversial guy for sure. And the only reason why Dimitri has any merit at all, like at that mall fight scene, he did terrible in. In fact, he dragged down Sam and Hawk. Sam and Robbie. And when Hawk said, 5 against 3, wait, more like 2.5, I think that was kind of true. Because in a lot of those scenes, Robbie was actually distracted while fighting Hawk to help, guard Dimitri. He even has like his arm on him at one point while fighting Hawk. So Dimitri did do really poorly there, and continues to do poorly up until the very last fight scene when he's up against Hawk, and he kicks Hawk, blocks a lot of his hits, granted, and kicks him through a trophy case. Really controversial scene. Not a lot of people are happy about it, but my justification for this was, it was just more than anything, it's just lucky placement. He was in front of that trophy case, and because he got Hawk bloodied up and cut with all the glass and stuff, that's what got Hawk out of the fight. If for any other circumstance, dude, Hawk would have beat him, in my honest opinion. Next up, we have Aisha. Aisha is, in my opinion, one of the most slept on characters in the show, and I even feel like the writer slept on her in season 2. I brought up the concept of rivals a lot in Cobra Kai because I feel like it's a really integral theme to the show. And in season 1, she had Yasmin, and she wasn't even like a karate antagonist for her, so she didn't really have as much development as Miguel, for instance. And in season 2, even Yasmin was removed, so she had even less character development, and she only really gets to beat up Miyagi Do fodder. But what a lot of people forget is that in season 1, she very, very narrowly loses to Xander in the All Valley tournament. And Xander, keep in mind, he was the previous All Valley tournament winner before Miguel. And that's very significant. He beats her in a 3-2. So it was very close. Next up, we have Xander himself. I'd say he does get some credit just for being a previous All Valley winner. And, he did have a pretty close showing against Miguel as well. He did pretty well, but he doesn't appear at all in season 2. And I feel like all the characters above him in this list just further progressed in season 2 as well. Next up, we have Eli, or the Hawk, right? This is a character that I love, but unfortunately, he does not really do too hot in season 2 overall. Like, he, in my opinion, at the start of season 2, he really was sort of like the second in command after Miguel. You could argue it was Aisha because she's more disciplined, but as far as fighting prowess goes, definitely Hawk. He did do pretty well against Robbie in the All Valley until he lost his cool. That was a really big mistake on his part, but Robbie would have beat him regardless. And later in the show as well, Robbie beats Hawk when he's distracted by trying to watch out for Dimitri in the mall fight. Eli kicks him through the trophy case. I know I made an excuse for that, but it did happen too. And Miguel beat him fair and square at the training camp in the forest. So, despite Hawk being awesome and making to the semifinals in the All Valley Season 1, and of course he does take down a lot of fodder in the school brawl, that's not very significant in my opinion either. Next up, we have Tori, and she's really significant because she's sort of the rival to Sam. So, she's already just one notch below Sam, in my opinion. And Tori does have a lot of significant scenes, despite being a season 2 only character. For one, as soon as she's introduced in the little training scene that she has with Miguel, she pretty much, I know Miguel's holding back quite a bit, but she definitely is able to surprise him at the very least. Additionally, at the very last scene, Sam and Tori are really going at it, and she was fighting dirty, which of course sort of demerits her a little bit, but for a lot of it, even then she was fighting pretty clean against Sam, and they're going at it around the same pace, so I really got to give the next step up to Sam. So, Sam's next up. She's been doing karate for years, on and off, really. So she is beneath Robbie and Miguel's tier for sure, but she can also fight at the same level too. I feel like, for one, she learned the circle technique with I think it's actually called the wheel technique with Robbie, and they definitely have a lot of good synergy, so they can fight at the same pace. I just feel like, Robbie and Miguel are clearly better, and they do have, good tournament placings to help back themselves up as well. But it's very close between, Sam and Robbie, in my opinion. Next up, we have Robbie himself. This is definitely Miguel's rival. I'd say as soon as you get Kyler out of the picture, not too long afterwards, it's Robbie. And Robbie definitely does, show well for himself. He's a karate natural, and I feel like he does have a lot of potential as well. He was really good in the mall fight scene. I've credited that a lot. He does very well in the All Valley, very narrowly losing to Miguel, but ultimately does. Another thing that puts him beneath Miguel is if you're watching the school brawl, a lot of times Robbie will try and fight Miguel, and then Miguel will quickly dispatch him, and then not even focus on beating him. He just wants to go intervene in the fight between Sam and Tori. So then that's his priority, and Robbie's just sort of focused on fighting Miguel. Miguel shows forgiveness, and starts feeling his emotions, and that's when Robbie takes advantage of it, kicks him over the staircase. And again, I feel like that's another sort of very situational thing where Robbie got that over him, but I don't think you'd be very hard to find a Cobra Kai fan that really thinks Robbie is above Miguel in terms of karate prowess, in my opinion. So the entire best character as far as teens are concerned in Cobra Kai is Miguel. I mean, this guy is the Cobra Kai All Valley champ, baby. He's awesome. He wins pretty much a lot of his fights. He won the All Valley. He beat Hawk. In my opinion, he beat Robbie twice. He's just had a lot of really great scenes. And he was Johnny's longest student as well. He had a lot of training even before Aisha started, right? By the time, all the other students joined, he'd already beat Kyler and his whole crew. And they were the jocks of the school, right? So, I mean, definitely Miguel is the next Karate Kid. And Johnny's even said it himself. Miguel has the potential to surpass Johnny. And I don't think he was just saying that to be cute or anything. I think he genuinely meant that. So next up, we have the adults of Cobra Kai, all right? And first one we have up is Louis LaRusso. And he's a season 1 character, but, he doesn't really possess any fighting skills, even while fighting Johnny LaRusso with a baseball bat and motorcycle crew. He gets his butt handed to him by Johnny. Dispatched easily. He wasn't even sweating it at all. And Louis doesn't really have any other fighting scenes aside from that, so he does pretty terribly, in my opinion. So next up, we have Raymond, also known as Stingray, or by some as Chubbs. Now, the reason why he's so low, for one, he's above Louis because he has real karate experience, and, he definitely does have ability. He is, admittedly out of shape as well, and he's very new to karate as well. He started training karate in season 2. Additionally, you do see him do very well against fodder. You do see him, at least physically, outmatch Miguel for a bit. But you have to keep in mind, all of Stingray's good showings and all of his training and practicing has just been against the kids of, Cobra Kai. So, of course, he'd beat someone like Louis LaRusso, but there's no way he's beating someone like, like Johnny or Daniel or Kreese. No way. Next up, we have Tommy, Bobby, and Jimmy. I'm going to put them all in the same category. Simply, I know there are some discrepancies between them, and I know Tommy did have cancer. I'm not really going to hold that against him. So, for now, they're all just really in the same tier list. They all did very well in the bar scene, and what I did seem to find quite interesting is, they pretty much just established that most of their karate moves stayed due to muscle memory. So it sort of just seemed like it implied to me that they're around the same level as they fought in the All Valley, despite with just a little bit of hindrances just because they got older. But most of their karate stayed with them. Just a little bit of fun trivia for you guys as well. In the original Karate Kid, Jimmy's the only one of like Johnny's cohort that's still a brown belt. So maybe it would be like Tommy, then Bobby, then Jimmy. But again, it's just, they're just all in the same tier list because they all had around the same showings in the Cobra Kai series. Next up, we have Johnny. And now you guys might be a little bit bummed that he's so low on the ranking. Well, he's not really low at all. I mean, he's a sensei. He's won 2 All Valleys as a teenager and got second to Daniel LaRusso afterwards. So, he's definitely had a lot of good showings as a teen. He did not do too hot against Kreese. It was sort of a weird fight because you weren't really sure who was holding back and when. Of course, Johnny has some good showings, like in the bar fight, but those guys weren't really trained at all. And he also does intimidate the guy that dates Carmen, but again, that wasn't really too significant either. And the big thing is when Daniel was fighting Johnny at the end of season 2, Daniel pretty much, I wouldn't say that he beat him or anything, but he was able to get through Johnny pretty quickly, and all he wanted to do was see his daughter, and Johnny only got hit on him when Daniel's back was turned. For real, guys, rewatch it. I think you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. And of course, right after Johnny, we have Daniel. Now, Johnny and Daniel are clearly rivals on the show, so they're about the same level on the show. In my opinion, Daniel should be even higher just because, Daniel's had a lot of training under Mr. Miyagi. It's not Johnny's fault. They just want to make more movies of Daniel, right? So, there's Karate Kid 2, Karate Kid 3, and there's also dialogue that Daniel says that indicates that he continued his training even after those movies, right? With like more moves and stuff that you never get to see on screen. And Johnny quit, karate pretty much after the events of Karate Kid 1 until he decides to get back into it with the Kyler fight. So to me, it just makes sense for Daniel to be above Johnny, at least in this point in time. If you guys have any reason for disagreement, please feel free to leave it down in the description. The comments. And the all-time number 1 for Cobra Kai at the end of season 2, I'd have to say, is Kreese. And the reason why is because I've rewatched the fight between Kreese and Johnny several times because, to be honest, I've been having a lot of trouble with the top 3 for the adults for quite some time now, like where to exactly put each of them. But overall, I'd have to say that Kreese was holding back a lot. He mostly just wanted to win favor with Johnny, so that's why he was holding back so much. And if he has a large gap over Johnny, then he has to be better than Daniel. Because in Cobra Kai Season 2, despite, my personal opinion, Daniel and Johnny are rivals and are very, very close to each other. So if Kreese is a lot better than Johnny, Johnny would be Kreese would be a lot better than Daniel. So Kreese is number 1 of this list overall. But number zero, this is going to be a huge stretch. This is just a bonus. Mr. Miyagi, he does appear in Cobra Kai as just sort of weird flashbacks. They're not like, Karate Kid material. He does appear in Cobra Kai in new footage, in little flashbacks when he's setting up the garden and stuff. But I don't really count it either. That's why it's sort of like a bonus number 0. But just every Karate Kid scene, I mean, this guy is pretty much untouchable. He beats, Mike Barnes, Terry Silver, and Kreese all at once. And to me, that just says it. That just says everything you need to know. Like, Mr. Miyagi's the man. Well, guys, this is my first video on Cobra Kai. Please let me know what you guys think of the video down in the comments below. If you have any points of contention on anyone, even like Mitch or Chris or Dimitri, please let me know. I'm always looking for a little bit of Cobra Kai discussion, So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Maybe I'll do some more Cobra Kai videos in the future. If you guys have any suggestions, I'll definitely check them out. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.